So huyu mtu ameua ndoto ya watu wengi sana. Ameua ndoto 2007 akakuja na Pentagon, akaua ndoto ya kina Mudavadi, wakaenda pale nyota. Sasa 20 Ruto akaona hivyo akaruka 2013 akaruka, sasa akabaki akaenda na Uhuru, nyota yake ikaamuka. Akakuja sasa akabaki na Kalonzo Musyoka na Mudavadi pia baada akafuata na Wetangula, wakapatana na kodi kodi ikakuja maji 2017. Huyu mtu akakuja akasimama na NASA nyota ikaenda ya Mudavadi, nyota ya Kalonzo ikaenda, nyota ya Wetangula ikaenda. 2022 akakuja na wengine ikakuja Azimio, nyota ya Karua ikaenda, ya Kalonzo ikaenda. Sasa 2027 Kalonzo na kuomba uende kwa nani arudishe, hata kama ni kwenda kwa pastor secretary, uende kurudishia nyota yako, kwa sababu huyu mtu atawatanganya. Ndugu Musyoka, nimetuma mpate na mrambi kutoka kwa ndugu yangu Musyoka.
This is not the first time that Salasya was beaten. He has been beaten in other places before. The other week we were watching a clip where the MP for Kimilili was asking the people, he was asking the people if they think Salasya can really beat him as he had threatened. Apparently Salasya had threatened to beat up Didmas. There is a time he slapped somebody in another funeral. I don't remember where it was. So in other words, I think the Salasya and his likes are the people who survive on violence and controversy. So personally, I'd not want to take him seriously. He's a young man who is trying to get to grow politically, but he's doing it the wrong way. I even saw some chats in one of his WhatsApp groups encouraging some people to go, and you remember there are some who had to do a press conference to try to blame Luos that you have beaten our Luya leader. I want to...
A very good afternoon and welcome back to Havana Media. My name is Boniface Owino, and as usual I'm going to be your host for today. Now once again I'm glad to host Dan Lukurito, and I'm going to give him time to at least say one or two things where he has been, because it's been long.
No, yeah, two weeks. It's been a while. Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us again today. It is true I've been away, Bonnie, because like I told you last time, we have to make ends meet.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a full-time job, and I've shared the details before. Those who want to invest, who want to save, who want to be advised on property, how to grow their money, they need to talk to me. And by the way, last year I was looking at the reports this morning. It seems like Kenya Airways made profits. The banks have made profits. It looks like the economy is working.
Economy is not working. That is just one of the ways of they want to use. Because remember this issue of payslip. Never touch the payslip. And a lot of people that are being paid using payslip normally goes to the bank. So when the bank makes profit, they also feel like, economy is okay.
Then we can rephrase. The economy is working for a certain class of people.
Thank you so much.
The bankers. the rich are getting richer while the poor are getting poorer.
So let me ask you this question.
Yes.
You're saying that the banks have made profits. So you as one of them, have you made any profit?
I'm not a banker.
No,
I'm an investment consultant.
But you use banks.
We use banks and they do deductions every time I do a transaction. So I believe that is part of my money, is part of their profit.
So your money is...
I just wish they'd share the dividends with their customers so that I also get a few coins in my account. I'm imagining I have more than one bank account. So I'm just imagining if each of my bankers decided to give me a little money, it would be good.
It is very much. Sometimes I normally say that it's very wrong for a company to say that they are making profits, yet they have been deducting the workers to make sure that they have profits.
The problem is we live in a capitalistic society. This is something we cannot change. But just after independence, Raila's father, that is Odinga, tried to bring what is in Tanzania is called Ujamaa. That is communism. And many countries were, including our own, our leadership then was leaning towards capitalism with the Americas and so on. And that is where the problem started. You see, a country like Tanzania, and I'm told in other communist countries, if you own a car, you drive to work, you reach the parking and leave the key inside the vehicle.
Inside the vehicle.
So that any other person who wants to use it can just get in and go.
And then returns it.
They don't have to return. They'll park where they are going because everything belongs to everybody. So you at the end of your session, say in this studio, you get out there and get a car parked, you get in and go home. It doesn't have to be yours.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
So I buy a car.
Yes.
And then I drive.
Actually, you don't even buy. I think what was missing, the missing link, I'm not sure. This is my own thinking. Maybe these things were meant to be given for free. But you see, even that Tanzania, our nearest Ujamaa society is trying to catch up with us. And that is why you saw yesterday, if you watched the news, the East Africa Legislative Assembly is talking about introducing one currency for the East Africa countries. I'm not very sure how that would work because looking at it, Kenya seems to be in a better economic position compared to the neighbors. There is another suggestion that one of the MPs was giving, that we start using our currencies anywhere. For example, if a Ugandan comes to Kenya, they can trade using their money right here in Kenya. I go to Tanzania, I can use Kenya money there. I don't know how that one would work.
So if a Ugandan comes to Kenya to use it, and then maybe let's assume that he or she is carrying 1,000. 1,000 Ugandan money is like
the
carrier bag.
The thinking of that particular member of the East Africa Legislative Assembly. He assumes that all the currencies are equal, which is not the case.
Yeah, it's not the case,
I went to Arusha one day and we were about 3 or 4 people. We took a cup of tea and some mandazi. And when they brought the bill, they told me, I don't know, it is how many thousands. So because I was used to the Kenya shillings, I thought it is very expensive. Only to realize it is just a few coins in Kenya shillings. But in the Tanzania currency, it is thousands of shillings. So before we think of having a common currency, we need to look to discuss and know which formula are we going to use to equalize these currencies. Which formula are we going to use to make sure that the Uganda shilling is not disadvantaged as a result of converting into using a common currency, for example. But I think that is for economics to discuss. I'm not an economist myself.
Yeah, you're not an economist, but at least you
At least I have an idea. To survive in this world, you need to know something about everything.
Yeah.
You cannot know everything.
But something.
But when you have an idea on everything, it is good.
Yeah. Now, that one aside. Now, let us now get into our discussion.
Yes.
You are not around. I thought maybe we would discuss it. Maybe on Monday during our political barriers. But you are not. I think you are busy. This issue of Peter Salasya being beaten by the goons.
Yes.
I want to ask you this question. I know people have talked about it. We also talked about it with Thomas Omoa. We had him here. Yesterday we talked about it. But I feel like you have an idea on how to handle it, because you remember Peter Salasya is your brother. So my question is this. I've seen a lot of people saying that Peter Salasya being beaten can bring a lot of commotion in between the two communities. Now, I wanted to answer this without measuring into any tribe, like that, without looking at that I'm a Luo. I just wanted to be neutral and talk about this. Is it going to bring conflict in between these communities?
First, before I address the issue of him being beaten or not, I want to congratulate our team, Harambee Stars. They did their best, although they lost. We had advised many of us who have an idea of what happened, what happens in such situations. We had advised that some people keep off from that
game.
In fact, they should have watched from home. Because some people see it seemingly when they appear somewhere, they bring bad luck. I'll not mention them. But unfortunately, they appeared and the team lost, despite the fact that they tried to put in their best. We are looking forward to more wins going ahead.
It was
Coming
the first game.
I'm not sure. It was not the first. It was not the first.
But they still have some games.
They still have about 4 or 5 games to go. So we hope they'll do well. If they win all of them, there is a chance they might qualify. I'm not very sure. Again, that one we leave to sports people. We only watch once in a while. And I've been supporting Arsenal since 1994.
No wonder.
So
you are an Arsenal fan?
Yes, I am an
Arsenal fans. You have your brother here.
Now, Peter Salasya. This, let me call him young man because he's younger than me by many years. He has, truth be told, this is a young man with bad manners. This is not the first time that Salasya was beaten. He has been beaten in other places before. The other week we were watching a clip where the MP for Kimilili was asking the people, he was asking the people if they think Salasya can really beat him as he had threatened. Apparently, Salasya had threatened to beat up Didmas. There is a time he slapped somebody in another funeral. I don't remember where it was. So, in other words, I think the Salasya and his likes are the people who survive on violence and controversy. So, personally, I'd not want to take him seriously. He's a young man who is trying to get to grow politically, but he's doing it the wrong way. I even saw some chats in one of his WhatsApp groups encouraging some people to go, and you remember there are some who had to do a press conference to try to blame Luos that you have beaten our Luya leader. I want to tell them, there is something that many communities don't know about Luos and Luyas. They should possibly go back and try to understand why these people call each other Mashemeji. This is a bond that has been there for many years. And if there is anybody who will break that bond, it is definitely not Peter Salasya. So I think people should just ignore him. Let him do his practice, his madness here and there, and life goes on. As concerning the claim that you know sometimes when power gets into your head, you start thinking you are a leader. You start thinking you are leading people when you are just taking a walk.
Can you repeat that?
I mean, this guy possibly has, the head has grown big. And he has started thinking now he has a lot of people that he's leading and speaking for, which is not the case. You know, sometimes when there is no clear leadership, people get desperate and they want to believe in anything and anyone that seems to be speaking what they want to hear. I told you about Rigathi Gachagua a few months ago. And even before it happened, I told you, the day you will see people start believing in Gachagua, know that our country has gone to the dogs. Why did I say so? Because the person, when Gachagua was in office as the deputy president, he was so tribalistic and openly so. He didn't hide it. And even now, he's not hiding anything. His obsession is about Mulima.
Yeah.
Yes, he's only concerned about people from Central. People from Central are good and hardworking. I've worked with them. I've done campaigns with them. And generally, they are good people. But then when you have a leader who wants to isolate other communities, I think it is a recipe for disaster, especially in the coming election. Because by doing so, you end up turning the rest of the country against your own people. Remember where I come from. The good thing with the people from Central is they are all over.
Yeah, they're all over, yeah.
Even where I come from, they are there in the villages, having bought land and settled there, and we live with them very peacefully.
That one reminds me, when I was in campus, one of our lecturers came into the lecture hall and said, and asked, how many Kikuyus are here? And a few of them raised their hands. And what this lecturer said, that in any case, you enter a lecture hall and realize that the course that you're doing does not have any single Kikuyu change. I
was told the same. When I joined the university, I had a professor, I'll not mention his name. He told us the same. If you get into a class and find that there is I don't want to use the word Kikuyu, let me say, there is nobody from Central.
From Central, actually, yeah.
Change that course because it is not going to be beneficial to you. And these people already seem to know. Now, on a lighter note, I've worked with Kikuyus for many years. Actually, most of my working years. I've worked with one of their most prominent churches. And the discussions that go on there is that they believe they are, in quotes, the Israelites of Kenya. In other words, they believe that they are the people that God sent to save Kenya, which is not necessarily true. But people can believe what they want to believe. Where I come from, there are those things we believe which are not necessarily true. For example, when we were growing up, we used to be told if a good Kikuyu is a dead Kikuyu.
Is a dead Kikuyu. Yeah, that is the narrative.
Those are some of the narratives we used to hear.
Yeah.
So you see, because of the way you grow up, you start having some beliefs about other communities. Let's get back to the Luya and Luo. The reason these people call each other shemeji is because, one, they intermarry. So you'll find almost everybody on that side is a relative. Two, some of the cultural practices are shared across the board. And these are very difficult people to tear apart. The Luyas have been after the Luos, of course, have been the largest supporters of Raila Odinga and his own father, especially politically speaking. Some of the most prominent Luya leaders, like the late Kina Masinde Muliro, when they were just starting multi-party, Wamalwa could not work with Raila. In fact, he told him, you are not of my level. I don't know the exact words he used to describe Raila. But somehow Wamalwa could not work with Raila. Not because Raila was a Luo, but because of his intellectual capability. Wamalwa believed Raila is below par. Unfortunately, he passed on before Raila becoming president. Raila is still here. And Raila has been part of all the governments from Moi up to now Ruto through via the various handshakes that he has been doing. So I think Peter Salasya, okay, he might want, I'm not necessarily a supporter of Raila Odinga, but then Salasya is, I think, going a bit too far. And the only thing I can attribute to his verbosity, speaking anyhow, is because of some of the substances he has been using, even posting his videos on social media, smoking, and we know the area where he comes from. By the way, that area has the largest number of mad people in a per square kilometer. And he could be one of those mad people in that area.
So make me understand this. Why is it that despite all these things, people are seeing his behaviors? We are not against him. We are just talking. People are seeing his behaviors, his smoking, the way he talks. But still, there are some people who are still protecting him despite doing all these things.
This is something we've discussed before. There is this issue of the human software. That is what is lacking in most people. And I was going to tell you just before we digressed that when there is no leadership, people can fall for anyone that seems to be speaking what they want to hear. And that is why people like Ruto today will not be president if he didn't send his people to go and listen to what people want on the ground. Then come and speak as if you are one of them until they put you in power. That is the challenge we are having. Even if a madman came today and said, I'm going to do something about your pay slips, I'm going to remove the taxes, I'm going to make life easier for you, people will believe and vote for them. That is why many people are listening to this Peter Salasya, because he seems to be speaking what people want to hear. The reality might be different because he doesn't even have capacity to do anything. Now, like I was saying, at some point when you get elected and get into parliament, I've never been in parliament myself, but I think there is a new degree of madness that comes upon somebody because they believe they are elected at a particular level, so they can be elected anywhere else. And it is not Salasya alone. You see, even when the governor of Nairobi, we were talking about this last time, believes that he can win votes by giving people chapatis. It doesn't make sense. That is not the work of a governor. So it is not particularly Salasya. What I think is like Reverend Timothy Njoya used to say, I think there is a bad spirit in that parliament. When people get in, they change to something else.
But there are people, they are good
and
people.
Maybe mention one good person in that parliament.
In that parliament, I can I not necessarily I can't talk about maybe but the way they carry themselves. Look at somebody like Ndidi Nyoro, somebody like Babu Owino. Okay, we can say that maybe they did things in the past, or maybe things that maybe could tarnish their names. But truth be told, when you try to look at the way they behave, it's quite different from the way these other guys behave.
It comes with also education. I think education is very important. When you look at people who have been properly schooled, and when I talk about schooled, I don't necessarily mean having sat in a particular, because somebody will come and say, about school and so on. There is that education you receive in a formal institution. And there is something else called self-education. Boni, today there is so much information online that if you wanted to be an engineer, you would be one. If you wanted to be a pilot, you would be one. If you wanted to drive, let me shock you. I never went to any driving school myself. I just went to YouTube and I learned how to drive. And I can drive very well.
Somebody coached you for a minute and then you're good to go.
Yes. So most of this information is available online. Whatever anybody wants to learn is available. It is only that willingness that should be there. So when I talk about schooling, I mean, have you worked on your mind? You know, God gave us a mind, and mind is what has conceived all these things that we have today, including computers and so on. And but I want to quickly say also that every generation rides on the shoulders of a past generation. The past generation, in our case, they did a lot of good things. Today's generation has become too bright, and today they have even given us some very, what do I call it? Let me use the word unusual. Unusual ways of even kids doing exams in school and in college. Let me give you an example. You get a very good, say, architect. He has all the good grades at different levels of education. So you believe you are hiring a very competent person, but what you don't know is that this person was using ChatGPT to do exams. What they do is they copy paste a question and answer. And ChatGPT tells them the answer is this one. They choose that one. So they end up getting very good grades without reading anything. Now what happens is, and what is going to happen in the next few years, we will have the dumbest population on earth.
That's true.
Yes, because these are people who will not care. They'll not even know how to mix cement and sand, the ratio. Because these are things that are practical, but we've made them so easy. We have given them, and these are the things that kids are using to pass exams. So if you are here, you are watching us and you are a student, ChatGPT is good, but not the way we are misusing it today, by copy-pasting questions and giving answers without letting that knowledge pass through our brain. It is very important that you read and understand what you are doing. Back to PK. Is there anything I've not answered?
I don't think. But, though I saw him also claiming that he's going to prepare himself.
For what?
For a comeback.
Which comeback?
He's going to revenge.
He's going to revenge? When you are going to revenge and you are a leader, do you announce it on media?
He said that he has got...
I know he said he's a licensed gun holder. And you know, somebody can take advantage of that so that he is blamed. You see, wisdom is very important. A wise person weighs their words before they speak. If I were Peter Salasya in this case, I'd have just gone silent. Do you know why? Because any word that you say about something, you know, these people might be having other enemies who are looking for an opportunity to get rid of them. Then you go and announce, I'm looking for you, I am armed. Then they go and finish somebody. Then guess who the police will come for? You.
Because of the threat.
You go and write a statement. And in the process, you might implicate yourself.
You mentioned something concerning the relationship between the Luhya and the Luos. And all along, we know very well that there has been a conflict. I don't know whether to call it conflict of interest or what, between the Luos and the Kikuyus. It has gone too far. Any moment you mention something, like you hear Kikuyu saying that Tairi, Maranini. I don't know, how did this thing start and how can it end?
You know, the issue of betrayal in our local politics, for example. The betrayal started with Kenyatta and Odinga. Because like I mentioned when we were starting, Kenyatta leaned towards capitalism. Odinga leaned towards communism. But before then, those who have read a bit of history understand that before the colonialists left, they had tried to make Odinga, Odinga, the first prime minister of Kenya. So when they approached him, he said, no, but our leader, Jomo Kenyatta, is just here in Kapenguria. Let him come and be our leader, and all of us will support him. In this case, Jaramogi was doing it as a nationalist. He was not looking at Kenyatta as a Kikuyu. And he assumed, you know, there is this thing that we tend to assume when we have particular certain traits. Like when you are good to people, you assume that the other people will have the same intention towards you, which was not the case. Because when Kenyatta was released and became prime minister, the first thing he did was he started amassing the land and giving to his friends. Even the Mau Mau lost out from his own community. They could not even get that land. And that is the origin of the fallout between Odinga and Jomo Kenyatta. And that is how he found himself in the cold. Now, and of course they had used a fellow Luo, is it Luo, called Tom Mboya.
Tom Mboya, Luo, yeah.
They used to call him TJ. Thomas Joseph Mboya.
Yeah.
Now, they used Tom Mboya to finish Odinga politically by, you know, then the vice president was supposed to be the party vice chairman. Now they created 8 positions to represent each of the provinces in order to weaken Odinga. Why Kenyatta had to do so is because Odinga was speaking the language that the people want to hear. Yes, let's give our people land. Let's give our people jobs, and so on and so forth. But Kenyatta could speak publicly, but privately he was allocating land to himself. He was allocating property to himself. That is why today the family of Kenyatta is one of the richest families in this country. That is the origin of the fallout. It was not about a Luo and a Kikuyu. It was between Odinga and Jomo.
In fact, the forefather, we call them the forefathers, the founders.
Yes. Yeah. Now, what happened afterwards is when the issue of now succession came in, after dealing with Odinga, then Tom Mboya became a threat. So the so-called Kiambu Mafia had to finish Tom Mboya. Yes. And that is why, you know, that shootout in 1969 when Kenyatta had gone to commission the Russia hospital in Kisumu. People were killed. Now, who shot? The ones who are shooting, regardless of the police, whether they came from which tribe, they were shooting to protect Kenyatta, a Kikuyu, from Luo. The perceived enemy, Odinga, who is a Luo. But their disagreement was ideological, not tribal. So these other people who came later didn't bother to look at the history. They started inherited the hatred and now started looking at the cultural practices. Yes. Here in Central, we circumcise our children. Do these people circumcise theirs? No. They didn't ask themselves that, okay, these people actually uproot their teeth. They equally go through some kind of pain as a form of initiation, which was practiced by the Luo then. I think there are some who are still doing so. But these ones, in their narrow-mindedness, kept thinking, these people don't circumcise because they are primitive. By the way, do you know most of the even the white people, they don't circumcise their children. The Germans, watu hawatairi.
They don't.
Yes, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know there are many others. So it is not like when somebody is circumcised, they become better than any. By the way, the most courageous people I've met in this country are the so-called uncircumcised, because when it is protest, hao ndio walikuwa wanakuja kwa wingi. When you go to the army, for example, without boasting, most of the people who have been sent to fight enemies
Are the Luos.
Luos and Luyas. Do you know why? Most of the Kikuyus in the military take office jobs. But the real field work where they call the rubber meets the road, you'll mainly find there Luyas and Luos who go there in the field there to fight. I'm not saying because they are better people. But you see, when you are in a position of privilege, you tend to favor your people. You tend to send other people's children to go and die when you are comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how can this thing come to an end?
This thing, unless we rewrite our history, we have relied on a history that was written to favor some parts of. If you look at even the story of the fighting for independence itself, mostly they mention Mau Mau. I come from Western Kenya. I don't know whether these people have ever bothered to find out that even our land in Western had initially been grabbed, and that is why we have settlement schemes there in Kitale. We have some farms there named after Wazungu who are there. We have some towns that were named after some people. Actually, a place like Lugulu, for example, there was that is where I come from. There is a hill around there called Chetambe Hills. Now, if you find any serious Luya who knows the history, will tell you about the war of Chetambe Hills. That was a war to fight the white man to leave the land to the locals. There was a war in Cherengani Hills at the same time when the Mau Mau were fighting here in Central. There was war towards the border towards Busia, where so many people died. That history was never documented anywhere. You see now? So unless we go back and rewrite the history and avoid this thing of thinking it is only a certain tribe that fought for independence, our children and grandchildren will keep inheriting this hatred. Until kingdom come.
That one said and done. Before I go to the next thing, there is someone who is greeting you here. His name is Ibrahim Kamis. He's saying that niaje Mr. Wino, salimia Mr. Misiko hapo, my former English teacher, Kibra Academy.
Kamis.
Yeah, 2004, 2005.
I think I know that name, Michael Kamis. Hi, my brother. Good to know you are still here. Do you remember me? It was nice teaching you, by the way.
So people still remembers you as a good. It means you are a good teacher. Now, the next thing I want us to ask. I want to ask you this question. I've got two things that maybe I would like us to combine, but you can talk one after the other. William Samuel is talking about incompetent leaders. Something has been in my mind, that why is it that when you as a leader, for instance, you're working with William Ruto, you are his accomplice. Let me use that word. I'm a kibaraka. When you do what he wants, you are competent. You are good to go. You can do the work. But now when you try to go, you realize that what you're doing is wrong, or maybe you're being used, and know your worth, and then you are kicked out. And in short, when you are with William Ruto, you are working. But when you are out of the government, or when you are out, you are incompetent. For instance, Rigathi Gachagua was working with William Ruto. Ruto used to send him on errands, he used to perform. Then the moment he was kicked out, Ruto said that Rigathi Gachagua did not understand anything to do with the leadership. Former AG Muturi When he was the Attorney General, he used to do his work. Now, William Ruto yesterday said that Muturi was incompetent. My question is this. Muturi was incompetent when he was the Attorney General. William Ruto knew. And then the same incompetent person was brought back as a CS. What is going on?
You heard that saying in English that when you want to kill a dog, what do? You give it a bad name and hang it. That is what Ruto is trying to do. Uhuru Kenyatta has worked with Justin Muturi. The people of which constituency is that? I think at some point he was elected. Yes. Do you think people elected an incompetent leader?
No.
And Muturi, in my view, has all the qualifications to hold that position. Many people, I have not worked with Ruto myself, but many people who have worked with Ruto will tell you one thing. One, Ruto hates bright people. When you are with him in a room, he wants to always be the brightest person, for example.
But what do you expect?
Ruto has some very bright people that should be supporting him deliver on his promises, including the former... By the way, I remembered yesterday, the former governor of Nakuru, Lee Kinyanjui, is a cabinet secretary in this government, but all of them have been gagged. They don't speak. They don't speak.
And Lee Kinyanjui is one of the brightest guys.
Yes.
Under Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes. He was a governor for a long time and I've never had any scandal about him. So Ruto has a lot of bright people in the government working for him. The only thing he doesn't want is he wants to be the only jogo, the only person to speak. So if you go out there and speak, he'll chase you away. He'll give you a bad name and chase you. The reason Gachagua had to go, there is if you have read the 48 laws of power, never outshine the master. Gachagua was trying to outshine him. Just the same way that Ruto was trying to outshine Uhuru Kenyatta when he was president. Uhuru was wise. He never dealt with Ruto the way he's dealing with these other ones. But a second term is coming. And maybe, I don't know what he will do. Maybe, unless he becomes the Electoral Commissioner himself. I can assure you, Ruto will go home.
Okay, talking about the election, we have got the panel, the IEBC, whereby we have got the people are being interviewed. Around 11, we have got Charles Nyachai, Anne Amadi, we have got Joy Brenda, Francis Kakai, Jacob Ngwele, and Erastus Edungu. We have got Lilian Wanjiku, also Robert Akumu Asembo, and lastly we have got Saul Simiyu Wasila. What do you, Wasilwa, yeah. What do you have to say?
First, I want to congratulate those ladies and gentlemen. It is not easy to go to a slaughterhouse with your eyes wide open.
Knowing that this is a slaughterhouse.
That position of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission in Kenya is like a slaughterhouse. So as they prepare to, as they show the willingness to commit suicide, I want to congratulate them for being courageous.
To die.
Personally, I cannot apply for that position. But then, anyway, that one aside, there are some photos that surfaced online, especially after the interview of Charles Nyachai and Joy Brenda Mdivo. By the way, Joy Brenda is the daughter of J.B. Masinde. You know Bishop J.B. Masinde? Yes, of Deliverance Church. Now, when those photos appeared, some of us then realized that Joy Brenda is actually a UDA party official.
She is, yeah.
That automatically, in my view, I'm not on the interviewing panel, but I'd say that disqualifies her. Because you cannot convince an opposition person that this one is going to be a neutral chair, having been a member of
an official
of that party. And that is the problem that the previous, you remember when the like Chebukati were coming to office. I think Chebukati had been at some point a candidate on ODM.
Yeah.
And people are saying, how sure are we that he's not going to represent the interests of his party? So we don't want somebody who will have to go there and start defending themselves against being friends of the president. I saw another photo of Charles Nyachai and Ruto somewhere at State House.
State House, yeah.
That again, automatically, if I were the one to decide, I'd declare those two disqualified. So it leaves me with how many? 9. Less headache to settle on one person to lead that team. But there are a lot of qualified Kenyans among that team. In fact, instead of looking for, they are going to interview another, 100 and what people to join the commission. So how many commissioners do we need?
We don't need many. We don't need very many.
Are they 7 or 8?
7, only 7.
7.
Yeah, remember, we got the Cherengei 4,
you see,
and then the 3. 7.
Yes. So once we disqualify Mudivo and Nyachai, we have 9. We get the number 1 to 7 from those 9 and declare it a commission.
Yeah.
We don't have to waste a lot of resources doing this. After all, it is a temporary position.
Yeah, temporary position.
And again, I don't, you see, a body like IEBC, I don't understand why people have to be paid a salary every month for 5 years doing nothing. An electoral commission should be temporary. They only come into office during the election year.
When need be.
When need be.
Yeah.
During the election year, do the elections, finish, declare, and we declare the commission dissolved until the next election. 2, the issue of, now that you are asking about the electoral commission, the issue of the cost of elections. Do you know Kenya runs one of the most expensive elections in the whole world?
Sponsored by the government, right?
Yes, we pay. It is the taxpayer who pays this money. And one of the stupid things we do, can you imagine? We cannot print ballot papers here in Kenya because outside. We don't trust each other. They are printed outside. What is the point of having these ballot papers? I was just thinking, and if they could allow me advise them, in this digital world today, why don't we just have people voting electronically? We just create a link. Maybe there are cyber, and the government is also opening hotspots across in all the constituencies. We just activate these things, and people queue at the constituency whatever, where there is a hotspot and there is Wi-Fi, and there are a few computers there. The only thing you need is 2 police officers kwa mlango, for females and for males, to check the ID. Then you get into the cyber, you click on the link, you choose the candidate you want, and go away. Another person comes and does the same. That is one way. And we transmit results in real time. In real time means, Bonnie, we have a screen like the one behind you. And we have 2 people we can trust, or the 7 commissioners we are talking about, watching as the results stream in live. And all the Kenyans are also watching, so that we get rid of this issue of having no trust when it comes to elections. Number 2, there is a country in this, I think it is in Africa. I've forgotten the name of this country. They actually use marbles to vote. Do you know marbles? Ile tulikuwa tunacheza hivi ya nini? What is it called in Kiswahili?
Bano.
Yes, those ones. If
how do you use Bano to vote?
Now I'm just thinking, maybe if candidate X, you drop in a blue one. Candidate Y, you drop in a red one. So you don't have to be spending money printing ballot papers.
Buy Bano.
You buy like 20 million marbles. Use them for this election. After this election, keep them and wait for the next election. So that you don't keep spending this money unnecessarily.
Every 5 years.
We have a lot of projects that we need to do with that money. but we pump a lot of money into elections. We end up killing each other and displacing each other for no reason at all. If there is any other planet where there are beings, or maybe God and his angels, I am sure every 5 years they look at Kenya and just start laughing at us because of how stupid we can be. I have worked with you for the last 5 years. Then suddenly during the election year, I remember, Bonnie is a Luo. Luos are bad people.
Luos are bad people.
Or Bonnie remembers this Kamuluya, or this Kikuyu, or this Mukamba, and so on. Yeah. That is the most primitive way of looking at a fellow human being. The Bible says God created all in his own image and likeness. When I look at you, I should be able to see the image of God, and the same applies to you, so that we treat each other with respect. Not like I told you, like we used to be told, if you want to know as X is somebody from tribe X is dead, drop their shilling. If they don't wake up, you are sure they are dead. That kind of belief is what kills us. So as the commissioners get interviewed, we wish them well, but we also wish to tell them that they learn from Kivuitu and Chimkati. And another young, I call him a young man because he was young then, called Isaac Hassan. Isaac Hassan, I believe, did a very good job, and that is why today you meet him in the street. He has no fear. He just walks around like any other person. We would want a situation where after the elections, assuming JB's daughter becomes the chairperson of IEBC, after the election, she should be free to walk in the streets of Nairobi.
Go to church.
After the elections, we would want even our own government ministers to walk in along River Road like they walk in foreign capitals without being fearing anybody. But here in Nairobi, you cannot even meet an elected leader walking alone Moi Avenue, one of our main streets in the town. They have to be surrounded by bodyguards.
But why?
Because they fear people. They fear the same people who elected them. Two, fear comes because there is something, you've done somewhere, and you have created some enemies, and therefore they are looking for you. But if you genuinely work for the people, you will not have to hide anywhere.
That one reminds me. I saw one of the presidents. I don't know which president, which country is it. I saw a president just riding a bicycle, freely having the short.
The prime minister of Britain.
Yeah, Britain.
There was a guy, alikuwa anaitwa nani. This guy used to ride a bike to was it Cameron or somebody? Used to ride a bike to the office every morning alone. Okay, he had some bodyguards, but they were also riding their own bikes far away. Tell me, these days even our own president has to. Do you know how he sneaked into Nyayo Stadium the other day?
I never even realized that.
He sneaked in after even when during the Safari rally in Naivasha, some storm came and blew the tent. Yes, I think it was shortly after he left, and he sneaked into Nyayo Stadium. We only came to learn when he was already inside. What was he fearing? These days, do you see, since the Gen Z protests of last year, do you see those vehicles with sirens escorting cabinet secretaries?
But I think they were banned.
Why are they afraid?
They were told not to use them.
Why?
Because the attack can come at any.
Yes. Why that attack? Why fear? When you are a leader loved by the people, you don't hide from your own people. So I think this government, the current Ruto government, should be a good lesson to any other leader who will come in future. It's very important that we learn from it. How not to lead.
What do you have to say as we finish? What do you have to say about the Elvis, that is Elachi's son's death? And Kenyans' reaction?
The young man rest in peace. And pole sana to Mheshimiwa Elachi, our MP for Dagoretti North. But then, this world is round. Just a few months ago, the same Elachi was telling people who are dissatisfied with Kenya to move to other countries. When the Gen Zs were shot dead and some were abducted by the police, Elachi is one of the leaders who was saying some negative things and never stood up for the youth. When Morara Kebaso was being beaten at Bomas the other day, it is Elachi who was shouting, "Chapa he, chapa he."
It was Elachi.
Yes, Elachi was one of them. So as much as we sympathize with her losing her son, sometimes as leaders we should be careful what comes out of our mouth. The Bible also talks about the power of the tongue. Using my little theological knowledge, this tongue works both ways. Sometimes it will work against you. Whatever you wish on someone else, God is somewhere watching and feels, okay, this is what he or she wants to do. Let's turn it and do to him or her, so that they also feel what those other people are feeling. Maybe then they'll come to their senses. I don't want to say more, but let the young man rest in peace. But also the mother should learn a lesson.
Your last statement?
My last statement, Governor Kihika, please come and work for the people of Nakuru. You don't, as a leader, as an elected leader, and you just disappear without official leave. Now who is doing her work in Nakuru?
But she went to give birth. How do you expect someone who she's in maternity leave?
Let me tell you something. One of the mandates of the governor of any county, not only Nakuru, all counties, is to make sure that health facilities in that county are functional. Do you know how much confidence it would have created in the people if Governor Kihika just admitted herself in one of the hospitals in Nakuru and even told people, you can come and see me, I'm in this hospital. All the people will have faith in our own facilities. But this is a leader who has been given a mandate to develop health facilities in her own county. And this applies to all the counties and all the national leaders we have. If a miracle happened and I became a governor or president, I'd insist that all the people, including ministers and senior government officials and whatnot, they use those facilities they have built themselves. If I'm the MP for Webuye, for example, Webuye East, and I fall sick, I have to be admitted in a hospital in Webuye East, not in another constituency. That way, the leaders will develop those facilities. They'll actually do their work. Now, what the hell is Kihika doing in the US for over 3 months?
No, she went to... Remember, Kihika even told the people while she was campaigning that I have children, but when I get into the office, I have to give birth to one child while in office. So that is... in fact,
giving birth is okay. Even Atwali's wife gave birth. Was it yesterday? By the way, I also congratulate Papa Atwali. At 75.
At 75.
He's still getting children. That is... he encourages me. I'm just saying, don't read too much in what I'm saying, but I'm just encouraged that Papa Atwoli at 75
is still strong.
He's actually, by the way, Abraham got a child, Isaac, at what age?
At was it 90 or?
Almost 100.
100 years. Yeah, it was.
So I think it is a good thing that some of these things are happening in our lifetime, so that we also learn. As much as I congratulate those ones, I also want to ask Kenyans. Elections are coming in 2 years. Is it 2 years?
In 2 years' time.
In 2 years, we will have a chance to elect leaders. Are we going to elect pretenders again? Thank you.
What I can say is that we have got a mouth. We have been given mouth to talk and to eat. We have got nose to smell, eyes to see, ears to hear. Whatever you do with that information is up to you. Until you meet again, I've been your host, Boniface Owino.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.